Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show, where you'll find health and fitness inspiration, motivation, and information shared in 15-minute episodes. Tune in while getting a move on to make leading and enjoying the benefits of a healthy lifestyle almost too easy. It's the Fit 15. And now your host, Catherine Basu.
Welcome to episode 51 of the Fit 15 podcast show. I'm your host, Catherine Basu, and yes, this means we are over the halfway point to getting to 100 episodes, so this is a really important time for you to give me your feedback. I want this show to be your show. I've said that since episode 000, but some of you might be new here, so welcome. The best way to give your feedback if you are loving and enjoying the show is to go to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. And if you have any feedback or guests or topics you would like to have covered, you can go to fitarmadillo.com/podcast to share more detailed feedback that I can act on for you. Yesterday on the Fit 15, I released episode 50 and I counted down the top 5 episodes so far on the show, so that might be of interest to you if you are new. And one of the episodes that was so close but didn't make it was episode 28, which was with today's guest, Meredith Rice. Meredith Rice is a client of mine and has been for several years. And on episode 28, she talked about how to start a fitness journey, gave some insights from her own personal fitness journey, which she started primarily because she was getting ready for her wedding and had some weight loss goals, and she did achieve those goals and actually lost over 70 pounds when we worked together. But she also had some running goals that she was not so crazy about sharing with me, but I was very crazy about helping her reach because, as many of you have learned from listening to the podcast, if you don't know me personally, I love running and I love helping people get started with the running routine. So she talked about that a little bit on the previous episode. And today we are going to catch up and see what happened after her series of races that she had planned when we last spoke. So without further ado, I want to welcome Meredith to the show. Meredith, thanks for joining us today.
I'm so excited to be back. Yay!
Woohoo! So we have a lot of catching up to do, at least for the listeners. So last time you were on was a while ago, and you hadn't completed the challenge you had told everyone you were going to undertake in the previous episode. So maybe just bring us up to speed. What was the big event that you completed, and how did that go?
Yes, the last time I was on this channel, I was so nervous. And actually, I just completed my first 10K at that time. And I was pleased with my time, but I was still anxiously awaiting this big event. And what it was Disney Princess Half Marathon Weekend in Orlando, Florida, back in February. And what I did, I participated in all the races that I could that weekend. You know, I didn't get to do the kids' races, but, you know, I tried to sneak in, but even though I'm short, I didn't make it. But I did the 5K, the 10K, and the half marathon on back-to-back days. And it was an amazing experience. The miles actually did fly by. I was expecting the half marathon to challenge me, and it did still challenge me, but it felt good. And I was surprised that it felt as good as it did. And I know part of that was because Catherine had me so prepared for that race that I was sure to conquer it. And so I did. And it is definitely a very cool moment and something I'll remember forever. So
awesome. So was the half your favorite then out of all those 3 races, or?
Oh gosh. I don't know. I mean, it definitely was memorable because it was my first half, but I would almost say that the 5K was my favorite just because of who I was running with.
Yeah.
I ended up running this race with somebody, which was really awesome. That's the great thing about the running community. There kind of are no strangers because you can all relate on the basic level of, this is painful and we all sweat. and we've all got to go this distance. Are we going to make it? So you can all relate on that level, on that basic level. But I ran the 5K with my parents, and my dad had actually hurt his knee and just recently had surgery on that knee.
Yep.
But so we were walking the 5K, but we had more fun walking that 5K than I'm sure a lot of other races had running it. Racers had running their race, so we had a good time.
No, that's awesome. Definitely great memories to have forever. I'm glad that your parents were able to go out and get to enjoy the festivities and actually participate, which was pretty cool.
Yes, my dad wasn't very excited at the beginning of the race because he didn't realize how early it was going to be. And I think he was shocked by the number of people that were willing to get up that early and excited that early. But no, we had a great time. I even got them to dress up in costume. My dad was the genie from Aladdin at the end of the movie when he's dressed like a tourist. That's kind of who he was. Everybody loved his goofy hat. And then my mother was Dory. She always teased that Ellen should not have gotten that part because she played it so naturally. So my mother was, and I was Rapunzel, which was the race's theme this year by chance.
Yeah, no, that's pretty fun weekend for you guys. So what do you think after doing the half? You said it was you thought it was fun. Would you ever do a half again?
Definitely. I was already crunching numbers, like how many of these can I do? Because it was that much fun. And like I said, while it still was challenging, Disney does a great job at distracting you. Let me just put it that way. There was never a boring moment on the course. Like even out on the roads, they had signs of characters.
Joining us and only have 15 minutes, that is your halfway point reminder. You want to turn around now. All right, back to the Disney fun.
Music, something to interact with. So it was the easiest 13.1 miles I'd ever.
Better than the treadmill, right?
Oh my goodness. Just a tad. No, it was really good.
So any tips, Meredith, that, now that you've done your first half marathon, I'm already placing you through the marathon. Now that you've done your first half, what would you give us some feedback or some advice for someone who's thinking about doing their first half? Like what are some must-know tips that you learned either during your training or just after experiencing the distance during the race?
Sure. Yeah. Something important to note is, especially if you're doing Disney, is definitely test your costumes before you run. Like don't try to run 13.1 miles in a tutu if you've ever ran in a tutu before. You might look a little silly running around your local neighborhood in a tutu, but believe me, it's worth it there. And when you can take it off and, not worry about it. And then, so that's Disney specifically. And I would say for any half marathon, make sure you test what they call your energy or your fuel for in race to make sure you know what to handle, because races offer for the bigger, like the half marathon or the longer distances, they'll offer what they call like energy stops or fueling stops. And you want to make sure that what they offer is something that is compatible with your stomach, or that you're prepared and you bring your own stuff, because 13.1 miles on just water is probably, going to tire you out. You probably need something. So I would say that would be a suggestion. Get fitted for shoes. Don't just get any shoes. Like get fitted for shoes, get really good running shoes, and just have fun. I mean, if you go into it trained and prepared, it's your victory lap.
I like that. I
I mean,
like that.
and when you're in that race atmosphere and you have all these people around you, it's just going to fly by. And so if you're thinking in your mind, there's no way I can go that distance, you definitely can. And something that also helped me with thinking with that distance, at first thinking it was insurmountable, just do what they call chunking, like I knew I could run a 10K or I knew I could run a 5K. So I was just like, okay, I'll run a 5K. And then I'll be like, okay, another 5K. And just break it up into manageable sections. And however you have to think about it to make it seem less daunting to you, it helps.
All the little mental tricks. Yeah.
Yeah. Your body can definitely do it. You just have to trick yourself into believing you can, and you're going to do it. You're going to make it.
So I guess with you having experienced the Run Disney weekend in all aspects, and I know we definitely want to have people head over and check out your YouTube channel because they can get a lot more details and a lot more visual details, but any tips for people thinking about undertaking the challenge or doing all the races that you did just to prepare for that in particular after going through it?
Something that I did that you encouraged and built into my plan for me that definitely helped was back-to-back run days. So I kind of knew what it felt to run on what they call tired legs. So that helped me. And then also I kind of prioritized because the 5K wasn't timed, like they weren't going to cut you off really. So since I knew I had 2 other races after that were timed, I took it easier. Like I said, I walked with my parents. And even the 10K, I ran at, a comfortable training speed for me. That way I would have plenty of energy for the half marathon. And also get a foam roller because I call mine Rolly. It has a name. It had its own special place in my suitcase. And it definitely saved me after every race, I would go back to the room and use my foam roller. And Rolly definitely came through for me that weekend because I was surprisingly not sore. I think it was between Rolly and walking it out in the parks a little bit that helped. But definitely don't overdo yourself in the parks as well. That's another tip if you're doing a Run Disney challenge specifically.
Got it. Now, those are all really good tips. I feel like I love Rolly. I feel like he should have his own Instagram or something. I don't know.
He's had his own video, and he has a pic on my Disney World trip, which of course Catherine mentioned my channel. So he makes appearances on there, but yeah, maybe he should.
Maybe one day. I mean, he's well traveled.
Yes. He's on a roll most of the time. I'll catch up with him.
So people, like we were saying, they can follow your channel, but we have at least 2 races. I think now they're officially registered for. You want to tell us about those?
Yeah. So the first one I have coming up just here in a couple weeks is another half marathon. See, I told you I've caught the bug, and I told Catherine the other day, I was like, what did you do to me? Because I never thought that this would be me, but it's amazing. You get what they call that runner's high, and you just keep going, and it's awesome. But in a couple weeks, I'm doing the Silo District Half Marathon, which is the marathon that Chip Gaines from Fixer Upper created after meeting the professional runner Gabe, Running with Gabe. I'm not sure how many times she's gone through it, but she has a rare type of cancer that she was always battling, and she's a really inspirational runner. I encourage you to check out her story. But he was inspired by her to do his first marathon, and he'd never run a race before, period, 5K or whatever. So jumped right to the top. And he's hosting this race in Waco, Texas, and it's going to be a good time. The lady that ran the 10K with me, and she is going to join me for that run. And it's
nice.
Cinco de Mayo weekend, so we're gonna have a good time.
Very good.
So that's the nearest race, and then I have another Disney challenge, the same format, the 5K, 10K, and half marathon on back-to-back days. But this time, instead of Orlando, it's taking place in Paris, and not Paris, Texas, Paris, France. Disney hosts these challenges called Coast to Coast between if you run a race, a half marathon or more in Disney World and a half marathon or more in Disneyland in the same calendar year. It was called the Coast to Coast Challenge.
Mm.
Well, unfortunately, the Disneyland races got canceled indefinitely this year, and I couldn't just let that, perfect princess half marathon experience sit there and not try to combo up with something. So I figured out it was feasible for me to go to Paris, and if you do the same thing, a half marathon or more in Disney World and a half marathon in Paris, France in the same calendar year, they call that the Castle to Chateau Challenge. And that's what I'm going for. So I'm going to get my feet to see anyway. And I keep trying to get Catherine on board because that would be really fun.
I know, you brainwashed me. I was interviewed for a podcast, the Running Couple podcast, and they were asking me, where would you want to run your dream race? And I was like, Paris, because you have me keep thinking about Paris. I do have, unfortunately, my cousin, who's not just a random cousin, she's been, very inspirational in my running journey, even though running is my first fitness love. She got me actually signing up for my first marathon. So she is a special cousin. So I do have to go to her wedding. But
yes,
I did try to get her to go and get married in Paris instead because she's a big Disney person, but that didn't work out.
I tried to call Catherine out there, but it's just bad time. But maybe someday we'll run something together. I even told Catherine, knows, maybe one day a Boston Marathon together. Or something
I was
crazy.
Gonna say, what's your next race after this week watching the Boston Marathon?
Well, after watching that Boston Marathon this week, I'm just like, how could you not want to be a part of that? I mean, the rain in your face and everything. It looked like a fun time.
And so much inspiration just from all the runners that, lots of good stories. I mean, if I start talking about it, I'm going to go talking for another half an hour about the Boston Marathon. So I'm going to try to cut myself off, but people should check it out if they missed it.
Oh yeah. I think it was even more inspirational just because of the weather conditions. So I'm not going to spoil anything if someone hasn't read up on it or seen it, but definitely go check that out. That was amazing.
Awesome. So I keep alluding to your YouTube channel, but do you want to let us know, Meredith, where everyone can find you on social media and catch up with in more detail and more visuals?
Yes, of course. Yeah. I started a YouTube channel called Rice Runner. Think of the Vanilla Ice song if you get confused, but it's Rice Ice. And I started it just as kind of a motivator, like something that I had to be accountable to, and also just because I'm kind of a, how do I say this, photography, memento kind of geek. So it's like a digital scrapbook, and I wanted to be able to look back on all these moments and help someone if I could. So that's what I'm doing. And I also started doing something else to fund all these races, all my races. Like I said, I was crunching the numbers and I was like, how am I going to do this? Well, I decided to combine my love of Disney and talking about Disney to everyone I know with a way to help me get to these races. And that was by being a Disney travel agent so that I could help other runners that maybe want to do Disney plan their racecations, or just anybody who wants to go to Disney. And I'll help you plan everything and get you down there to to Florida or Disneyland or on a boat or pretty much anywhere Disney is. So I'll leave Catherine with that information as well.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously people can go check out your channel, but for those of you who don't know, Meredith is a big Disney buff, so you'll be in really good hands. And she's gone on lots of these trips herself already, sea, land, and soon to be Europe. So she'll have the real scoop.
Yeah, keep saying like on Boston, you know, the world's major marathons. There's one in Tokyo, and there's also Tokyo Disney. So maybe I could visit all the Disneys of the world and then also all the marathons of the world.
Not a bad plan. Not a bad plan. So I have to ask before I cut ourselves off here and let you go, because I know it's a lot later for you than it is for me. But did you ever think, Meredith, you mentioned this before, but did you ever think you would be wanting to travel the world by racing?
For racing specifically, absolutely not. You know, it took a lot of convincing, sometimes 5Ks, but I never thought I would be like setting these goals of like, maybe I'll run, you know, a half marathon in every state, or maybe I'll try to go cross. You know, now I've got my wheel turning, or legs turning. That matters. That's definitely because of Catherine. So she achieved her mission of bringing in at least one more person to running. So,
yay!
and I think, you know, it's infectious because now my sister-in-law is running, and my sister-in-law told me today Disney hosts virtual races, and this summer they're doing an Incredibles series after the Incredibles 2 movie that's coming out.
Oh, fun.
And I was getting my sister-in-law involved, and she said that her son saw the medal and was like his aunt, and wanted to run it for the bling. And she said he was sitting there researching carb loading. I think he's about
I was going to say, I met him at your wedding, but I still think he's pretty young, but that's really cute. That's a good story. Aw.
So you inspired me, and then through me, it just keeps on rolling. So you're down to, you know, an 8-year-old. So
yeah, I love it. Gotta start him young. It's good.
I would say the youngest armadillo, but your nieces are probably the youngest armadillo.
I know. Yeah, that's true. Yep, definitely. He has a little competition there.
Yeah, the next generation of armadillos, though, is looking pretty strong.
I love it. Well, thanks so much, Meredith. I know this is a great episode, chock full of inspiration for people from at least ages 8 and up. So I appreciate you sharing your insights again.
Yes, you can put the little, like they do on the toys for those 8 and up.
Thanks for listening to the Fit 15. For show notes and more, visit fitarmadillo.com/podcast. See you next time.